Vocabulary for today. Upward mobility. According to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, upward mobility is defined as the capacity or facility for rising to a higher social or economic position. According to Cambria, upward mobility is movement or the ability to move to a higher social class. And according to encyclopedia.com, upward mobility is the experience of moving up into a more privileged economic position in society. Social scientists study the rates of upward mobility across different groups and societies because upward mobility is associated with notions of meritocracy and equality of opportunity. In a meritocratic or open society, all that is required for upward mobility is an education and hard work. Success in this type of society is determined by individual achievement rather than family background. In closed societies, on the other hand, there is little or no upward mobility. For example, children from working class parents are likely to end up in working class occupations themselves, and one's educational attainment is determined in large part by the educational achievements of one's parents. So pretty much, upward mobility is a measure of your chances of making it in the world and having a better life, even if you were born into a disadvantaged situation. An interesting fact about upward mobility is that upward mobility in the United States has been on a steady decline over the past several years. Upward mobility would typically be referred to as what we would define as the American dream, which would be to come out of a bad situation and make it better for yourself. Let's take a quick look at this article from the World Economic Forum and what it has to say about the current state of upward mobility in the United States.
Is the American dream over? Here's what the data says. September 2, 2020. This article is published in collaboration with Visual Capitalist. A demonstrator holds a sign reading, "The American Dream is Over," during a rally outside Wall Street in New York April 4, 2009. Reuters, Shannon Stapleton, United States Business Society image of the day top picture, GM1E54507NA01. Is it? Image. Reuters, Shannon Stapleton. Marcus Liu. Financial writer, Visual Capitalist. Historic data shows how likely Americans are to outearn their parents, a key part of the so-called American dream. This suggests that it's becoming harder to achieve this dream. Stagnating wages and income inequality are just two of the factors behind this. Image. Visual Capitalist. The decline of upward mobility in one chart. For decades, a majority of Americans have been able to climb the economic ladder by earning higher incomes than their parents. These improving conditions are known as upward mobility, and form an important part of the American dream. However, each consecutive generation is finding it harder to make this ascent. In this graphic, we illustrate the decline in upward mobility over 5 decades using data from Opportunity Insights. Have you read? These are the 10 countries with the best social mobility. The U.S. versus Denmark. Is the Scandinavian model best for social mobility? How the American dream turned into greed and inequality. Understanding the chart. This graphic plots the probability that a 30-year-old American has to outearn their parents, vertical axis, depending on their parents' income percentile, horizontal axis. The first percentile represents America's lowest earners, while the 99th percentile the richest. As we move from left to right on the chart, the portion of people who outearn their parents takes a steep decline. This suggests that people born into upper-class families are less likely to outearn their parents, regardless of generation. The key takeaway, though, is that the starting point of this downward trend has shifted to the left. In other words, fewer people in the lower and middle classes are climbing the economic ladder. American Dream Social Mobility Earnings Economics is U.S.A. United States earnings change decline. The chance of out-earning your parents by different income percentiles over the past 40 years. Image. Visual Capitalist. Declines can be seen across the board, but those growing up in the middle class, 50th percentile, have taken the largest hit. Within this bracket, individuals born in 1980 have only a 45% chance of outearning their parents at age 30, compared to 93% for those born in 1940. Stagnating wage growth a culprit. One factor behind America's deteriorating upward mobility is the sluggish pace at which wages have grown. For example, the average hourly wage in 1964, when converted to $2018, is $20.27. Compare this to $22.65, the average hourly wage in 2018. That represents a mere 11.7% increase over a span of 54 years. However, this may not be as bad as it sounds. While the prices of some goods and services have risen over time, others have actually become more affordable. Since January 1998, for example, the prices of electronic goods such as TVs and cell phones have actually decreased. In this way, individuals today are more prosperous than previous generations. This benefit is likely outweighed by relative increases in other services, though. Whereas inflation since January 1998 totaled 58.8%, the costs of health and education services increased by more than 160% over the same time frame. Income distribution. While wages have been stagnant as a whole, it doesn't paint the full picture. Another factor to consider is America's changing income distribution. American Dream Social Mobility Earnings Economics is U.S.A. United States earnings change decline. Share of income between 1970 and 2018. Image. Visual capitalist. Like the data on upward mobility, the middle class takes the largest hit here, with its share of U.S. aggregate income falling by 19 percentage points. Over the same time frame, the upper class was able to increase its share of total income by 20 percentage points. Is it all bad news? Americans are less likely to earn more than their parents, but this doesn't mean that upward mobility has completely disappeared, it's just becoming less accessible. Below, we illustrate the changes in size for different income classes from 1967 to 2016. American Dream Social Mobility Earnings Economics is U.S.A. United States earnings change decline. Size of income classes by year. Image. Visual capitalist. The upper middle class has grown significantly, from 6% of the population in 1967 to 33% in 2016. At the same time, the middle class shrank from 47% to 36% and the lower middle class shrank from 31% to 16%. The data suggests that some middle-class Americans are still managing to pull themselves up into the next income bracket, it's just not an effect that was as broad-based as it's been in the past. Does the American dream still exist? The American dream is the belief that upward mobility is attainable for everyone through their own actions. This implies that growth will be continuous and widespread, two factors that have seemingly deteriorated in recent decades. Researchers believe there are numerous complex reasons behind America's stagnating wages. A decline in union membership, for example, could be eroding employees' collective bargaining power. Other factors such as technological change may also apply downwards pressure on the wages of less educated workers. Income inequality, on the other hand, is clearly shown by the data. We can also refer to the Gini coefficient, a statistical measure of economic inequality. It ranges between 0 and 1, with 0 representing perfect equality and 1 representing perfect inequality. One person holds all the income. The U.S. currently has a Gini coefficient of 0.434, the highest of any G7 country. Long story short, the American dream is still alive, it's just becoming harder to come by.
This information is being provided for educational purposes and purposes of political criticism. My use of this article is protected under United States law under the Fair Use Act. If you found this information useful or helpful in some way, don't forget to like, share, follow, and check out the links in my bio.